So welcome to the latest episode of Gallifrey Pirate Radio, where we are going to delve into Drew's trip to Long Island Who.
Oh yeah.
And some of the interviews he did, and get some sort of, what are those called? Anecdotes. Anecdotes of your trips.
Yeah, okay.
So I am your host, David Beauchamp, and I am joined by my traveling co-host,
The aforementioned Drew Meyer.
So, where do you want to begin?
By going back. Hey, you know what? This might be old news for some of the folks at home, but for us, it's fairly new. Yesterday, Long Island Who has announced their first guest for Long Island Who 3, which I think they're calling it Long Island Who 3 now with more velvet. So we're thinking, oh, third Doctor guest? And we were right. Katie Manning as Jo Grant has been announced as the first official guest. So for when you join us this upcoming year in November.
So I was about to ask, when do we get us, start asking about signing up to be a part of the convention? Is that now?
Well, let's see. It's a good question. Gotta buy your membership. Gotta buy your tickets to go in there because you don't get guest passes unless you are actually one of the guests. But yeah, I think if we wrote in there now, there shouldn't be a problem at all, I imagine.
So we got to do that.
All right, done.
Okay.
Done and done. So I think the first two interviews that we're going to take a look at are from the '96 movie. So we have both Daphne Ashbrook and Yichi So, which
nice.
Okay, so I haven't done a lot of one-on-one interviews with folks. I've got a lot of my hints on how to do it by watching you.
Yeah.
And you, of course, have the added task of both doing it one-on-one and doing it in front of a large audience, which I know can be fairly daunting.
And for an hour, too.
And for an hour.
Yeah.
Personally, an hour I can handle. 5-minute interviews is a bit much. So let me kind of lay this situation out for you. I traveled up with Pixel Who. We arrived very late on Thursday for the Time Flight concert. Unfortunately, that 3-hour-long concert I only got to see the last 45 minutes of. I missed most of the main acts. I still got to see quite a few people there. I got to see Dr. Puppet.
I love those people. I love that group.
I wanted to introduce myself, but I wasn't 100% sure it was them, and so I didn't do that. But I got a chance to meet some of the folks. Anyway, on the Friday prior to the opening of the convention, there was some downtime, and the guests are brought into a suite with rooms on either side that are dedicated to interview spaces, or should be interviewed. Andre Tessier and Katie Manning were the two people in charge of that, and they did an excellent job because as the day progressed, it became a lot more chaotic, dealing with the individual guests' schedules as well as the interviewers showing up on time, bringing friends. It got louder, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
You'll hear it on the videos at certain times. I think this was an interview session that was specifically designed for podcasters.
Mm-hmm.
This was not meant for video. None of the setups are ideal in any way, shape, or form. There's quite a few where we're in one corner and you can see the rest of the room. There's when I interview Colin Baker towards the end, you'll see that I am on my knees because no one's going to make him move. And they told me where I'd set up. So getting set up, filming and breaking down in 5 minutes is a bit daunting. I figured 1 or 2 questions. I wrote a bunch of questions.
Mm-hmm.
You want anecdotes? I wrote a whole bunch of questions. Almost none of them I asked.
Nice.
Because it got to the point where there was a flow that was going and I just went with it. Because I figured if nothing else, we're going to get screen time with them, and we can say that these folks have been guests on our show. So that's pretty cool, regardless of what was being said. In fact, the more abstract and absurd it was, probably the better.
The more entertaining.
So, definitely. Well, entertaining doesn't even begin to describe Daphne Ashbrook. I gotta say, all of these were highlights, but she being my first guest, She is one of the most affable and approachable human beings. Certainly I met at that convention. She's a delight. I rewatched the interview this morning. It's just fun. It's a fun interview. I think it goes over really well. She's super sweet. Throughout most of the convention, she made herself available to fans and folks.
That's awesome.
It was a good person to see, and we've sort of kept in touch a little bit. I told her to get the video access to her, which I have not done so due to moving life and illness. So, but Daphne, this is now for you, so this should be set up and ready to go. And the second part of this is with Iji So, who rock star Iji So. He was on stage when I got to the Time Flight concert. Apparently they had, and he'll talk about this in the interview, they didn't really tell him they were going to expect him to get up there. He just got on stage and played a couple of songs. Really good.
He's a musician?
He's a musician.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and it's in the interview. You'll see it's very sweet with his kids. He had his guitar and he would just barely just plop down and play with folks. Very cool guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
Well, here, not me.
No, I mean,
And here's the thing. Every convention I have been to with you has been a relatively large convention.
Yeah.
Some of them on the same level of attendance as Li Who.
Yeah.
But due to the Li Who space and the nature of the guests, this is one of those places where, with the exception of Colin Baker and Paul McGann, they would just get mobbed, I think, if that were the situation. But all the other guests were just readily available. If they were walking down the hallway and someone stopped to chat, they stopped and chatted.
That's awesome.
And I think the guests were respectful enough of them that it never became a problem.
Yeah.
Each guest has a handler who's taking care of them, and if they had to get somewhere, they were very respectful for going, sorry, we have to be somewhere, why don't you come and walk with us, or held the elevator for you. So, so with these interviews, I think you'll find that both of these two were very approachable and very...
But before we get to those two interviews, I do have a question. Because
Sure,
I know
absolutely.
I know you did get your photo taken with McGann. I know you also got some stuff signed by McGann.
Mm-hmm.
What was McGann like?
The photo I got taken with him and Colin Baker, they just said hi.
Yeah.
They took the photo and they moved on to the next person.
Yeah.
It's just like that. He seemed very appreciative of the fans. It's anything about Paul McGann. He is, one, his voice is just incredible.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what he's saying. I could listen to him say it all day. But he seems very reserved in when he speaks. He seems to think a lot about it. I haven't seen any of the interviews one-on-one.
Yeah.
I didn't actually get a chance to do many of the interviews. The sound system, by the time I would get to these interviews, I usually sit in the back.
Yeah.
And the sound was good, but the rooms were large.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't always the best quality. People have a tendency to chat and converse while in the audience, which I think is rude, but anyway.
It's the nature of the beast.
It is the nature of the beast. He seemed very cool. He was kind of just doing his own thing. I think that his resurgence in popularity, he was definitely the star guest.
Yeah.
Even though Karen Stix was the guest of honor, and rightly so, I think because of Night of the Doctor, because of the Big Finish audios, and Big Finish had the Doctor Who store was represented, so basically all the audios were available. I know there was a lot of panels where he talked about those recordings, and Colin Baker did the exact same thing. Colin Baker, I'll get to the Colin Baker part later. It's hard for me to get a bead on Paul McGann. I didn't get a chance to talk with him other than, thank you very much, sign these, listen, just want to let you know you were my doctor. I didn't tell him that he was a surrogate father. I didn't lose it. I wanted to lose it, Davey. I felt if I could. No.
But, I gotta say, thank you for getting the Monopoly board signed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I wish I actually had it here with us so I could show it off, but I'm in the process of getting it framed.
Oh, yeah.
So I could then transport to more conventions. And I'm actually looking forward to the new Monopoly board that's coming out, the Regeneration one, which is the Peter Capaldi board, and it looks gorgeous.
Well, everyone at the convention was very impressed with Monopoly board and the number of people. And I gotta say something, because I had them sign it to you because other names were on there. I didn't get a lot of stuff signed to me. I just had the signatures, and I'm not really sure if I was just struck dumb by the fact that I was fine sitting there in their presence. But I've got it my Elihu commemorative kind of Pixel Who did this one.
Yeah,
all the
I
guests.
saw that was great.
It's very cool. Obviously, Nina Tucson White canceled at the last minute because apparently 4 hours before her flight, she realized she didn't have her passport. We were scheduled for 11 interviews.
Yeah.
Again, thank you, Andre Tessier, for helping us out with that. We really greatly appreciate it. Colin Spall missed his appointment, which is a shame because and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And with Nina, so we get 9 out of these.
Cool.
But yes, I know there was another point I was going with it. I don't remember what it was.
Okay. So without further ado, enjoy the interviews.
Hey everybody, this is Drew with Gallifrey Pirate Radio at Long Island Who 2, 2014, and I'm here with a very special guest, Miss Daphne Ashbrook. Daphne, thank you for joining us for this short little interview.
Thank you very much.
I gotta say, last night at the Time Flight concert, your performance, didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
We had tickets, I got front row seats, super excited to get there, and 2 hours of traffic on the George Washington Bridge or whatever it was.
I actually heard that from more than one person.
I got in there shortly after you had already done it, so so if you wouldn't mind just doing the whole set over again right
now.
No problem. What are you going to sing for us today?
We'll start with the first song.
Go for it, let's hear it.
No way.
That's it, close,
but it went really well. It was very fun.
Well, I haven't heard a single bad thing from anity so far.
That's good.
So it was really good.
But you'll just have to buy the album.
I'm probably going to buy the album. I almost bought the album last night. I got in, I was a little shell-shocked. I saw the albums were there. I started listening to, I think Yiji was on deck when I first came in and was playing. I was like, oh, it's cool.
He was fantastic.
And he was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I have all these Doctor Who questions I want to ask, but it's like I kind of want to talk about music. Both of you guys sounded fantastic.
I know. I was like, we should go on the road, dude. But I had no idea he was able to do all of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You could tell him it's the '96 movie, The Musical, and people were going to come regardless. I'm sure.
I even know someone else who's a true Doctor Whovian was on it for years, who's the songwriter. So we could actually do a whole thing.
Who is that?
I don't know if I
should. Okay, that's okay. Yeah.
Nicola.
Really?
She's a songwriter, great songwriter. I've even done a couple of her songs. We even have a little CD that we did last February together. I did 2 or 3, I can't even remember, I think 3 songs of hers. Yeah.
That's so cool.
They'll be here if anybody wants them, so.
Those CDs will be?
Yeah.
Neat, that's great. It's you come for one thing and it's like, wow, there's so much else going on.
Well, there's a lot of talented people in this group. I mean,
you kind of hope so, right?
They're all like funny and intelligent and talented in many, many different ways. I mean, didn't Peter Davison direct that online the Five-ish Doctor?
He did the Five
He directed that and wrote it, I think.
He did both of those things.
And it was a delight.
It was amazing,
wasn't it?
It was.
That's like my favorite thing.
When you talk about the 50th anniversary, you're like, oh, what's your highlight? And I'm like, are you kidding? You asked me for one? I did. I had one, and I'll tell my highlight actually was Night of the Doctor.
Oh yeah.
Was for me because. While as a kid I read the comic books, my first official Doctor Who episode that I watched all the way through was the '96 movie. So
wow.
You are very much part of my coming to this fandom.
Oh, that makes me feel great.
I hope so because I am nervous as all can be.
Are you really?
I am.
I can't tell.
Well, I appreciate that.
He doesn't look nervous at all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Are you on camera at all?
I have no idea.
You're not even. There you are.
Oh, I am. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm just going to scoot a little closer to you.
Scoot in now.
Hello, everybody.
There he is.
So.
You don't look nervous at all.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I'm not here to talk about me. So.
Well, I'm here to talk about you.
Oh well. So what do you want to ask me? Feel free. I'm an open book.
So tell me about your childhood.
Well, I was born to some hippies in South Carolina. I grew
Good
up.
start.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been a part of Doctor Who since 1996 as far as being on screen. Were you a fan beforehand?
No, I didn't
No.
know. I didn't know what Doctor Who was.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a great script
Uh-huh.
and a really great role. I mean, there's very few times that in my career where you just read a script and you're instantly going, well, this isn't what's not to love.
Yeah.
So yeah, challenging in a lot of different ways, and it wasn't until I was on the set with Paul and Sylvester and Jeffrey and Matthew, and Philip, who started to tell me about what I was getting myself into.
Right.
And even then, I couldn't fathom it. I'd never even been to a convention. I didn't know anything. So I think I went to a convention in LA, the Gallifrey convention, when it was at its very beginning stages.
So that was your first Doctor
My
Who
first
convention
time, and I was
afterwards.
terrified. I didn't know what I wasn't used to being around people as me.
And the people were dressed up as Amazing Grace.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have seen that, although I don't remember seeing it that very first time. Maybe they were. I mean, I was so terrified. I was on one panel, and it was with Philip Siegel, and it was great to see him. But I kept saying, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. So they brought me a bag of books as a gift and said, read.
Aww.
So I did, and I've since seen some of the older stuff, and I've watched a lot of the new stuff, and so I've educated myself a bit.
Good.
But the true thing, the best thing I guess I can say
Right.
about all of this is, and it's going to sound totally like I'm pulling your leg or buttering you up or being
Please,
diplomat.
butter
But
me
it's
up.
the fans. It's
Yeah?
the fans. I'm not kidding. I that got me over my fear of being me. Was just being around people and asking questions and about their lives and finding out what they love about Doctor Who, and that is to me, actually, that's the gold.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it. I have friends all over the world now.
I can tell because I came in last night and I got a chance to kind of hang out, and I sat next to you at the bar last night. Probably didn't notice, but that's okay because I gotta say you have more energy than anybody I've seen at this convention so far.
Really?
No, it's a good thing. I think
I don't
everyone's
know if
been
that's a
very
good
friendly
thing.
and very nice, but we're thrilled to have you here. I'm thrilled to finally meet you. I'm thrilled that you got to be on our show, and I'm thrilled that you guys could be here and join us for GPR Special Area. So thank you guys very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Hey everybody, welcome to Gallifrey Pirate Radio. This is Drew, and I am at LI Who 2014 LI2. Hey, welcome. Thank you for being on here.
Yeah, for sure.
So I gotta start off by saying I caught your act last night at the concert.
Oh, cool.
We unfortunately, we came in a little late. We didn't get a chance to get in for the entirety of it. Came in and you were playing. Was that something you had planned?
No,
or
no
just-
plans at all. I literally, like, before I played, I kind of let people know what the situation was, and it was like earlier that day, yesterday, I was told that, they wanted me to play at the thing. I'd asked them here's the story. I'd asked the folks at the convention here, Ken and Billy, if they could lend me a guitar, because I've been playing for a while, but I've never really practiced. And recently I got a guitar teacher, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn finger picking and blah blah blah. So I was like, well, when I'm there, I want to be able to play. Can you guys lend me a guitar to have in the room? And I'll play out somewhere. I was expecting some kind of a casual little thing somewhere, on Saturday night or something around the hotel. So I get in here, and yesterday, Friday at lunch, before, literally like a few hours before the thing, they were like, oh, okay, so you're gonna play tonight. We have this concert set up at the airport, and there's like 100 people, and they bought tickets and everything. I was like, ah! So I'm like, okay, well, can you get the guitar to the hotel, and I'll go and practice for an hour before they're like, no, it's at the airport. You'll just kind of, it'll just be there when you're. I'm like, okay, so I haven't rehearsed. I haven't seen the guitar before. Never played in front of 100 people.
So this your first public performance?
Well, I've played at like little open mics or whatever back
Sure.
at home. Like 5 or 10 or 30 people maybe, but nothing like that. So
Sure.
yeah, that would have been my first time for all that stuff.
What's the inspiration for picking up a musical instrument and learning?
Well, I've always played guitar, like
Okay.
campfire style, like just open chords and so
Sure.
forth. But my daughter is learning the cello.
Uh-huh.
She's about 4 years into it, and she's actually kind of brilliant. Like she's been winning awards and stuff like that. I don't know,
Oh,
whatever.
well.
That's not why we got her into it. It's for her to like that. We actually kind of shy away from the whole award thing. But I mean, I'm a parent, so I have
If
to
she's going to be
brag.
that good, you might as well get.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to brag about it, right? She's doing quite well. So, and I've been doing a practice with her. Like, we want to learn how to play with other musicians as well as
Sure.
just doing the straight up classical stuff. So, so I've been practicing with her where I would play a chord progression and she would sort of practice her scales over it, and then she would start to jam and kind of like jam on the cello, which is we want her to have that. Her grandfather is a fiddler and played with Joni Mitchell and all that kind of stuff. So.
He says kind of casually.
Well, I mean, that's amazing, but I mean, that's his story, and
Right.
I don't know that enough about it to go on about it. But so anyway, so playing with my daughter, I was like, okay, she is so far beyond me already as a musician. Like, I need to do some kind of catch up. I need to like get myself to her level so I can explore different chord progressions and so forth. So I started to pick up the guitar just a few weeks ago. And yeah, that's what led to this performance, I guess.
That's really cool. Well, you sounded great.
Thanks.
I know that everyone there really had a really good time. I mean,
It was
there
a
were- there
fun
were people
vibe.
dancing in the
Yeah.
in the I don't know the aisles, I guess, during your music. So
Yeah,
that's
it
gotta
was
be
a really
cool.
fun time.
It was a good time, definitely. So I just gotta say that, and I know you're probably getting this one a lot. I was one of those people that kind of came to Doctor Who in 1996.
Awesome.
As a kid. I grew up reading comic books, and so I had the Doctor Who comics. I knew that the Doctor was a scarf-wearing dude, and,
Yeah.
and I kind of knew he traveled through time and space. And every other comic that didn't have Tom Baker in it, I didn't know what was going on. But in 1996,
Yeah.
the movie came out. I taped it. I still have the VHS tape, more or less.
Yeah.
It does not work well. I don't have a VCR to play it. But,
Yeah, right.
like you are very much kind of a part of that catalyst into this fandom for me.
that's
So
great.
I'm just gotta let you know that this is a huge moment for me. So
Thank you. I'm honored to hear
well,
that.
I'm honored to be sitting here next to you for this one. Were you a fan of the show prior to your playing the part?
Yeah, I can. I was mentioning before that, like, and obviously you weren't in the room, so that's it. But I watched a lot of TV as a kid. I was one of
Right.
those sort of TV latchkey kids,
Mhm.
and Doctor Who was one of the shows that was on, and so I did watch it nearly every day. Like, it depends on what channel I happen to have it on or
Right.
whatever. But I don't remember a lot of the stories. I was
Sure.
a kid. I was distracted. I was doing my homework at the same time, and it was just one of those. Whatever. I couldn't tell you every episode of Knight Rider either, but I know I watched it.
Right.
and I remember the theme songs to all the shows. So, was I a fan? I watched it.
Mhm.
I don't know if I was a fan of anything in particular. I was more just a fan of TV, I think.
Sure. Well, yeah, and who isn't, right?
Yeah.
So after taking part in that, did you maybe go back and after?
Yeah, I think I have more. I know I have more of an investment in the whole Doctor Who universe now.
Sure.
I know more about it. I've been trying to. I've got young kids, and we're actually trying not to get them to have too much screen time. So it's sort of rare that I get an opportunity to watch TV myself. But I've downloaded the episodes from Apple TV, and I've been trying to make my way through. And honestly, I don't think I'm even finished with Chris Eccleston's season, but
Sure.
I'm gonna get there.
You finished watching it, but you haven't introduced your kids.
I haven't introduced them to Doctor Who. They've watched the TV movie that I was in, but they're still they're because they haven't been exposed to that much television. They're really sweet. Their imaginations are so active. Like, they'll get scared about tense situations on TV, and so it's only been recently that I've been able to watch more things with them. Like, literally last weekend before we came to this was when I watched the first episode of Star Wars with them, for example, right? So my kids are getting into stuff late, but they'll
There you go.
they'll get into Doctor Who with me, and then they'll come to the conventions maybe.
That'd be fantastic. All right, we're looking forward to that. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for Godfrey Pariagos.
But I'm not saying